mainstream TV.
Yeah, we're gonna take the first caller too.
Yeah, this way we can actually watch airplanes take. I did. Great. Yep. We changed.
I can't believe nobody told me that C5.
Carlos, we ready?
Yeah, I think so. I was gonna actually triple check the interwebs. Yeah, you're ready.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll get started and call to order. Note for the roll call purposes that all commissioners are present except Mr. Fuschenberger, who will be here shortly. We'll note when he is here. We are being recorded today, which is a first, so everybody just be on your best behavior if you're not used to that. And first up is the approval of January 13th regular meeting minutes.
Move for approval of the January meeting minutes.
Second that. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, and then next is the approval of the February 2015 claims dockets.
Yeah. It's not plugged in yet. It's plugged into the main camera now.
Okay.
I don't think there were any items that were out of the ordinary. If you have any questions on any of those items, we did have the first draw for the terminal building project. As you can see, that's the highlighted one on the second sheet.
How long will we be with Sunshine?
We're not using Sunshine during this during the terminal building remodel because there's not too much to clean other than the toilets themselves. So we're holding back from that. We've been kind of waiting for our cleaning lady that got in the accident in July. So we've been waiting on her. She had another
surgery on the
20th of this month, and she's supposed to let us know something right after, sometime early March, whether or not she's going to come back. Her whole goal was to be able to come back. She wants to come back. So we've been kind of holding out, waiting for that. We kind of let her know that we really need to know something by the time the terminal building is complete, because we'd really like to get on the cleaning cycle and make sure we stay up with that. So that's our goal as of now. So, yep.
I move to approve the claims.
A second. Motion a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, passes. Thank you. Okay, new business discussion request for approval of the museum stipend for $16,500.
Mr. President, I need to recuse myself from the discussion and the voting because of my association with the museum.
So noted. Okay, thank you.
So we still have a quorum.
Yes. Would you gentlemen like to make a pitch? Okay.
Oh, I guess I should stand up. I'm not going to talk. We request the annual stipend of $16,500, which is what we have been receiving for the past few years to continue to operate the museum. Did a quick study of what our utility costs are for the last 3 years, 2012, 13, and 14. And it looks like that our electrical utilities have gone up about $100 a month.
Is that doubling?
From 12 to 14, and this is, we've got double the space, and then the gas consumption has about doubled from $75 a month to about $155 a month. Not surprising, given that we have 3,068 feet added on this past year. We tried to be as energy conscious as possible, but obviously the operating costs have slightly gone up. We'll take a good look this next year and see what our costs are, and hopefully before you set the budget for the new year, and see if maybe we should ask for an additional request. But I'm sure that we can get by with the 16.5 this year.
I want to thank the commissioners for their support. We've had a phenomenal year. Actually, our year was a month short because of the expansion. Our tours, I think we had 46 tours last year. We had probably 20% more visitors. Our income was up somewhat. And because of that success, this year we're going to expand our hours from 10 until 4, from Tuesday through Saturday. And with that, I can't say how successful it's been. Wendell is going to step down as treasurer. I think after 20 years he said he's had enough. But it may be that he doesn't like working with me anymore.
No, I'm still gonna make sure he tries to stay within spending limits. I have a reputation to uphold.
Brian Blavitt is going to be a new member on the board. He's going to be our treasurer. And I'm sure he'll do a very good job. But I want to thank you for the support.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board?
I think so.
Discussion? Discussion from the public? Okay.
I move we approve the 16,005.
I second.
Okay, motion second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you,
for your
gentlemen.
support. Thank you.
Some other people.
Yeah.
Next is discussion request for approval of usage of TIF funds for student housing sidewalks.
And this is this would be a request for you to recommend usage of TIF funds to the redevelopment commission. So redevelopment commission are the ones who actually will agree to this, spend the funds out of the TIF. So the student housing sidewalk project, as everyone's aware, the PUD stipulated that we as the airport provided those sidewalks not only around the student housing development itself, but also as a connection to the higher education campuses. We worked with Columbus Engineering to put together the plans. They put those together. They bid those plans out. We got 4 bidders, Excavation Plus, Case Construction, King's Trucking and Excavation, and Milestone. The winning low bidder, I should say, the apparent low bidder, and all bids have been reviewed by the engineering department, was Excavation Plus for a total of $97,492.
And it was significantly lower than the other bids for some reason. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the bids range from 193,000, 144,000, 179,000, and then the 97,000. So it was significantly less. After engineering had reviewed all of them, they saw no issues in their bid. So it is my recommendation to the board to recommend to CRC for the usage of those TIF funds for $97,492.
This is south side of Pochard, right?
It goes along the south side of Pochard, just around the student housing, and then it goes up Chapason as well. But then it will cross over at Kelly Street to where Harrison is, and we'll go in front of Harrison down, and then it will turn back north and connect with that People Trail system right outside of Ivy Tech. And on the east side of Harrison, it will go up Kelly Street and connect with that People Trail system.
Well, I hope there's no discussion on whether it's needed or not, because if you drive down Pochard every day and look at those new dorms, it's going to be a mess without it.
Yeah.
We already have too many joggers in the streets.
And this will be 8-foot wide side paths the whole way. So that was another PUD requirement.
So there's, from a process standpoint, the Board of Works actually is the one who took the bids and received the bids. We did that 2 weeks ago. Engineering is reviewing them. They're going to bring the recommendation back to the Board of Works to select the bidder. Then the Board of Works will then forward that on to the Columbus Redevelopment Commission, because they're the ones appropriating or spending the money, to make the recommendation back to the Board of Works to actually finally approve the transaction because they're done in the city's right of way, and then the project can move forward. So I think where we're involved is just to give our recommendation that they do the project and select that bidder essentially.
Do you know of any issues that might disrupt the flow through that process?
The only issue would be the amount of funds, but $97,000 is a great price for what we're getting, and we do have plenty of funds to cover that cost.
In the TIF, yeah.
In the TIF.
Yeah, I mean, the issue could be the redevelopment commission decides not to do it. We went in front of them last year to tell them we were gonna do this and kind of get their pre-blessing, which they've been done. So if that would fall through, I don't foresee it, but if that were to fall through, we could always reconvene and figure out some other funding method. But I don't think the housing project can open until there is some sidewalk connection required as part of their process. So it's not the whole thing, but it's a piece of it. So.
And as a side note, that Harrison College has a sign that's within the right of way that is going to be removed from this project. So if anyone hears if that is an issue or that is a problem, that sign will be removed before the project begins. It should be removed anytime now. Relocated to another area. When it's relocated, it will fall under the current PUD specifications. So
Electronic sign goes away.
yeah, yes. So they'll be mandated to submit a plan on that sign.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think there's any problem. Take a motion for.
Ask for the public.
Oh, any other public comments? Sorry.
Go ahead, I'm choking.
Well, I move we approve TIF funds.
The recommendation to the CRC.
Just understand the process. I move that we recommend that we use TIF funds for the sidewalk.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you, that passes. Next is discussion request for approval on a hangar land lease on lot 57, Taxiway Golf.
On Taxiway Golf, we've been meeting with a gentleman named Bob Graves, so I don't see here tonight. But we've been meeting with him regularly over the course of the last couple months. Carlos has been working with him more than I have, but he is ready to build a hangar on that lot. He will be leasing, it's the same acreage as the other plots that are over there now, 0.27 acres. His total lease amount, Carlos, how much was it per acre? Was it $3,500?
Yes.
So the total lease amount comes out to $3,500 per acre. So it's a standard lease amount for the property. This will start the first day of, he wants to start now the first day of March. He actually was going to push it off for another month, but his builder is ready to go now. So he wants to start the first day of March 2015, run for 20 years, and it has 2 10-year renewal options, so for a total of 40 years. We have not seen any kind of specifications as far as what the building will look like, but it plans to be a similar size building as to what's there. 50 by 60, Carlos?
That's correct.
50 by 60, so it's slightly shorter than like yours, Caleb.
Okay. I think we'll still need to approve
The building?
the building as a separate item. I mean, that doesn't mean he can't start doing lot work.
Lot work,
On
okay.
March 1st, but.
This is the first building that this is the first hangar building that we'll have built on the airport property since 2006. So I think this is a very big win for the airport to get another hangar building built.
I mean, I don't know if you guys have any comments on it, but I think we definitely need to approve the building, the plans. Whether that's just a site plan or 3-dimensional or whatever, I think, can be up for discussion. But in my mind, we definitely want to ensure that the front facing door is even with all the others.
Yeah. And the site plan itself will go before the planning department for approval as well, just so you're aware.
Sure, understood.
Can we just approve the building as an in-kind, since we're all in pole barns, essentially?
What do you mean by
I mean, would we have to specifically approve that 50 by 60 dimension and that set of plans?
I don't think we have to specifically do it just more that there's a separate approval for the lease and then for any construction that would happen, I guess. What the approval is basically the blessing to build the building.
Right.
I guess we can give a blanket building approval and just, I'd like to, before I would do that, I guess I'd just like to see what it is that's being proposed.
Not a bad idea.
Well, we started out by saying that his builder was champing at the bit to go on this, so there must be a plan.
Carlos?
What was the last comment?
The plans must exist for this hangar because the builder's ready to go.
Yeah, but my understanding is that there was possibly a last minute builder change. He has switched possibly to a different builder than we were aware of. I am not sure if he was going with, we were familiar with the plans for was it Graber Post?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he is still with Graber.
I talked to him earlier today. It's not Graber. I don't remember the name of the company, but I know it's not Graber.
We were, when he was working and talking with Graber, it was the exact same building as the 2006 build, but I do not know who he is now aligned with, and so theoretically it could be a different building.
Carlos, do you think there'd be an issue if we were to, I mean, we could approve the lease itself today?
Yeah.
'Cause he has to have this
Yeah.
before he can
It
submit to
comes
the
with-
planning
can we-
department and, because he doesn't even have a lot yet really to build on, so he has to have the lease before he can submit those things. Do we
Well,
want to come back at the March
I think at the
meeting?
next meeting, we need to see what his building's gonna look like to approve it. And in
Yeah.
the meantime, he needs to run all that by you to make sure there's no gotchas, because otherwise, without an approval, I mean, he could just build anything out there, and then if we come back and say we don't like it, he's gonna say, well, you never told me I had to get permission to build, so we just need to bless what he says he's gonna do.
Right.
But we can still do the land lease regardless of that. Anybody have any other
Well,
discussion?
can we authorize you to take a look at the plan
Sure.
and approve it? I'm just concerned he's trying to go on this thing. Maybe I'm reading this wrong.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Well,
I just think the airport needs to review the building plan, not to make sure
Color
it's
and-
I don't care
color
about,
and all.
yeah, and color, I mean, maybe, but make sure there's no gotcha,
Yeah.
If he's gonna build it bright red, that could be a problem, I guess. Does it fall out of line with what we're trying to accomplish, and if it does, then maybe we'll flag, I guess. Otherwise, I'm not,
Between Carlos and Brian, we know what to look for,
Yeah, I
and if
think
they can
so.
hand that off to you for our approval officially as board, yeah, I have no problem with that either
Okay.
then.
well, let's do the land lease piece first, and then let's do the building. So, is there any other discussion on the land lease requirements? 20-10-10, right?
Yep.
That's our standard.
And Mike has reviewed the lease. There were a couple of tweaks that Mike made to the lease, and we have implemented those.
If you are approving the lease today, make your motion clear that the lease approval is subject to reviewing and approving those building plans. Because I don't know that we have that specifically in the lease itself, review of construction documents.
Well, I mean, do we have to do that? Just in the sense that the lease is that he's got the land, not that he can build a building on it.
Once he has the land, he can build a building on it.
I don't think so. I don't think it says he's got permission to build anything without further board permission.
Good question.
I would word the motion that it's
Okay.
clear.
I'll take your advice.
Advice of counsel.
I dropped out of law school. Any other discussion on the lease?
I was just gonna ask whether you have to have a building permit to put something on.
Yeah, he's got a planning department process. He's gotta have this before he can get their approval.
Okay. I'll make the motion that we approve the hangar land lease, lot 57, to Mr. Graves, based on getting approval of what he plans to build there.
Second? Motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Next, discussion request for approval of Columbia Corp lease assignment.
That closing date's been pushed till April, so we will table that. I would request that we table that until the March meeting.
Okay. So tabled. Discussion request for approval of multiple West Ramp events.
We have been working, and Carlos particularly has been working with several entities over the course of, I don't know, the last few months now. We've had a lot of interest in the West Ramp and utilizing that. Carlos, if you'd like to introduce the gentleman for the Creeper Race.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to introduce to the board Chris Lanning from Lanning Automotive. He has approached the airport about conducting an event on June 20th. And no further ado, I'll let Mr. Lanning speak for himself. If you need any assistance, I can help you. But I think it'd be best if the board hear from you about what you'd like to do.
Hi, I'm Chris. I've been talking with Carlos over the course of the last few weeks. I submitted a request online for the use of a large, flat, smooth area, and he was extremely fast in responding, so thank you for that. I own and operate Lanning Automotive on the east side of town, and I'm a fairly new sole proprietor. And what I was trying to accomplish initially was hosting an event that would basically raise some awareness as to what I do and who I am, basically to promote business. It was brought to my attention through a friend of mine that I should do this also as a fundraiser. Why not kill two birds with one stone, basically is what she told me. So I gave it some thought and put together a plan that I submitted to Carlos. And basically it involves, I assume everyone here knows what a creeper is, what a mechanic rolls around on under a car. When I was in college, we had creeper races on the last day of college, and it was an absolute blast. We had a few different classes, so to speak, as to the way we did this, but I've broken this down into 4 classes, and entry fees would be charged. I would also like to bring in vendors and possibly merchandise, and the proceeds from this event, a large portion of them would be donated to Turning Point here in Columbus. And I've also been asked by Carlos about donating either time or a monetary gift to is it Aviation Days?
Yeah, our aviation day, either monetary or volunteer.
Okay. Me being a one-man show where I'm at, it's extremely hard for me to get away from work. So I would have to do a monetary donation, and I was going to suggest 25% of whatever proceeds, the net proceeds that I would get from this event, I would turn over to the Aviation Days. The breakdown of the other monetary assets would be, I would give 50% to Turning Point, and I would table the remaining 25% for a possible event for the following year. Because there would be some costs involved, and I would have to put some in reserve for the following year, providing that I get a good turnout, which I've put the feelers out there locally, and I'm getting some good feedback as far as attendance. So I'm kind of optimistic about the way it would turn out. This would be the first event that I've ever hosted. I would probably foresee a couple of hundred people showing up throughout the course of the day. It would be on June 20th. Everything would start and wrap up on the same day, and the grounds would be entirely cleaned up the same day as well. So,
Mr. Lanning's been briefed on the requirements that would be involved for an event on the West Ramp. Manning the gate near the Cummins parking lot, providing security for the taxiway that the Shorty hangar would use in case an aircraft would come or go from that hangar, and also protecting the movement area along taxiway Whiskey and Charlie. But he has been briefed on those requirements, and he's presented a plan to us along with mapping of the portion of the West Ramp he would use. He's just talking about using about 25% of the very northwest corner of the ramp. So I don't feel that it would be an impact to the airport or to the tenants on the west side. And I think he's proven that he can adequately control the event and a crowd if he were to happen to get to the 200 people that
We had,
I'm sorry.
Carlos, we have the event checklist. that talks about alcohol policy, insurance, lots of stuff. Are we adhering to that?
Yeah, we're looking, we're not talking about any alcohol, and we're going off of this, you know, this evaluation of per event. We've got a couple more that are looking at coming out from the West Ramp, and we're running everybody against this checklist. This certain
We may draft up an additional liability waiver that I think the participants and volunteers and such would sign, being on that West Ramp.
I'm willing to provide one of those too, on my end.
I'd like to hear a little more description of the event, what it exactly entails in terms of
Sure.
space. Carlos said 25%, but, and
Like I said, the gist of it is I needed a large flat surface that was fairly smooth. And he allowed me to ride out and take a look at it, and it would suit me perfectly. Basically, I have 4 different classes that I would run. The first one is called Kitty Creeper, which would be 2-person teams of 10-year-olds or under. Pretty much we put a 10-year-old on a creeper and put one behind him, and he pushes the guy as fast as he can down a 100-foot stretch. Protection would be required as far as hands and head. The teen creeper class, which would be the next one up, 15 and under, would be the exact same thing, except an older age class. The adult stock creeper class, which would be 16 and over, which would be the exact same thing, except 16 and over. The last one is the one I call the fun one. It's the open class creeper. Whenever we did this at Lincoln Tech, they allowed us to propel these creepers as fast as we could down this stretch by any non-motorized means necessary.
non-motorized.
Which entailed us using block and tackle systems, pulleys and ropes, garage door springs.
Oh no.
Whatever we could do to get our person on our creeper 100 foot away as fast as possible. So it turned out to be a really fun day. That class would require obviously full protection, just so in case somebody does fall off, nothing would get broken or hurt. And again, I said non-motorized, which means no gas, electric, any other power other than human power.
One of the reasons for the question, as my A&P can attest to, sitting here in the corner, when I get on my creeper in the hangar, I tend to get my fingers under the wheels.
Yeah.
No need to repeat that outside the room. You'll have some protection to keep things like that from happening, you know, keep your hands inside the boat sort of message.
Yeah, I'm going to be providing creepers for the first 3 classes. I have parts stores around town that have already offered to donate the creepers, and I would actually modify those to have handles above where you're sitting.
That was the question, thank you. Yeah, big part of it. Thanks.
And then whenever I, as long as this gets approved, if I hand out an initial flyer stating the regulations in each class, I would make it clear on that last class that the hands need to be above the floorboard of the creeper.
Yeah.
That way they're out of the way of the wheels.
Okay.
And just to continue, say more about, would there be food?
Yeah, the plan was, because it would be a fairly long day, to have minor food and drinks available, non-alcoholic obviously. And I would make it clear that they need to be self-contained units, meaning there's no electric or water hookup. So whoever comes out would have to have ice boxes or whatever on their trailers and be able to self-contain themselves and hand out food and drinks.
The vendors would be subject to the same liability clause as the.
Yes.
They have to do the same checklist as the.
Porta potties and
Yeah.
other kinds of amenities?
I'm sorry.
Porta potties, other amenities for your,
Yeah, I'm gonna get with Rumpke and probably have a couple of them dropped off.
Okay.
I have an account with Rumpke through my shop, so I'm assuming it wouldn't be an issue. And then the only other thing was marking off the areas. I would designate a specific area for parking, and then obviously we would mark off a racetrack, and then outside of that racetrack would be spectator zones. I wouldn't be bringing in any bleachers or anything, so it would just be bring your own chair or standing room only.
Do we want to, it says multiple events, do we
Yeah,
want to
there's
talk about
multiple
others, or
events.
do we want to finish out his first?
Why don't we finish his first, because the rest of them, they're all so unique to each other, so. Do you have any other questions for him?
And I would be providing an onslaught of volunteers to, I'm not sure entirely what road that is, right off of River Road, the entrance.
Warren Drive. Warren.
Okay, I'm assuming, I think that's the only entrance to that area. I would have volunteers there, overseeing who came in, and also the jetway there that we talked about, to block that in the event that an aircraft needed to be moved in and out.
I would think we're gonna improve these individually. Is that appropriate? As opposed to
Yeah, I think
approving
in
a
general,
block of
yeah,
things.
absolutely. Comments or questions from the public?
Yeah, I got one, Caleb.
Yep.
And I know you two can attest to the fact that with my position, it's, my job to sit back and just report on the facts, but this is me playing devil's advocate on this one. You mentioned June 20th is the date. I mean, that's fairly close to the aviation day. Why not just integrate the two events if you're essentially talking about bringing out porta potties, vendors like they're doing, you're looking for exposure. Why not just integrate the two events because they're fairly close on the timeline?
What day is the aviation days?
June
The
13th.
weekend prior.
Weekend prior?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. I didn't want to interfere with anything else going on. So, man, I don't know what kind of.
We also have, a girlfriend ride. It's gonna go on that weekend too, which takes place here and right up River Road, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have space problems that day,
Which day, Carl's, 13th or 20th?
the 13th.
Question?
You mean on the west ramp?
Yeah, Brian can talk a little bit about what we're thinking about doing on that day with the girlfriend ride.
Yeah, well, it's just a, more cars, there's a lot of bicycles. 1,500 people apparently attend this girlfriend ride. So they're gonna be going out Cunningham, up River, they're coming back, that kind of area as well. I don't know if we need to, throw another couple of hundred people in cars in on Warren and River and Cunningham during that event, not to mention all the.
This is on the 13th.
On the 13th, yeah, I think it'd be great from an exposure standpoint. I think you would get, the possibility of getting more.
I
And
wasn't trying to really throw a wrench in what you're
Yeah.
trying to do, Brian. Just, like I said,
Yeah.
A week apart, and you're essentially just looking for exposure. That's, good way.
If you were over on the west ramp during aviation day, how much exposure would you get?
You could probably set up, maybe you set a booth up or something, let people know on aviation day, that the event is the next weekend
I don't see the logistics working out very well for
for
that,
that.
unless they were able to move his event over somewhere on the main ramp. Otherwise, I don't see any benefit to him.
So we're back to the 20th.
Yes.
This is different crowds, it seems to me anyway, this is a different group of people.
The only thing I wanted to do was stay out of everybody's way in case something else was going on, or on the main area. It looked fairly busy, so the area he showed me seemed pretty secluded there. And, it seemed like it would fit the bill.
Okay, any other discussion?
Ready for a motion?
Absolutely.
I move we approve the request for the 20th for the creeper races as outlined.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
The next one is National Guard has approached us about a fueling op that they want to do on the west ramp as well. They've submitted drawings, essentially very similar to the drawings that Mr. Lanning had put up with as well. They will be coming down River Road with a convoy, turning up Warren, going in the gate, essentially mock fueling as what would be taking place in a military zone, coming kind of around the west ramp, exiting that gate as well, then turning on the small road, that broken up road, turning there, going back to River, and then back to Atterbury. They're planning that for the weekend of March.
Dates are March 28th through the 31st.
No, May 28th through the 30th.
Yeah, sorry, May.
Yeah.
May 20th.
May 28th through the 30th, so it'll be multiple days. There's a possibility of fixed wing or rotor wing aircraft that might play a part in this, depending on how much funds that the National Guard has at that point and whether they can pull those over to the west ramp. The drawings that they've provided us and the information that we've exchanged with them, we've met with them multiple occasions, I think, at this point. We're very confident in what they're planning to do. They know about
We've been
Texas whiskey and
in talks for quite some time. I mean, they approached us last year about this. They've got a really solid plan. That's a really good team behind it.
Did you discuss a fee?
As with anyone who's using the west ramp this year, and that includes all the police departments, so Greenwood, Johnson County, anybody who's using the west ramp for training this year will be providing Aviation Day assistance. So most of that's in the form of they're going to be here to do some ground control and things for us. National Guard is playing a role in that as they're bringing some of their equipment over for Aviation Day. That is their quote-unquote fee.
Very nice.
Because since
Very
we've not really established any kind of cost of that this year, we've realized we need more volunteers for Aviation Day, so we're kind of coaxing anybody who's going to use the West Ramp.
That's great income.
You said mock fueling?
It's mock fueling or is it actual fuel distribution?
I think there's going to be a small amount of fuel distribution, and one of the things I did get some, satisfaction from them is if they do any fueling, they're going to have 100% containment capability. The fuel tanks will be in a 100% containment reservoir, and they've got all kinds of military and federal regulations that they have to abide by.
What is the 20th and 30th? What date?
It's a Friday, Saturday,
Friday,
Sunday.
Saturday, Sunday. Well, we need to, if they're going to be coming in and out, and then we're going to potentially have aircraft landing over there, do we have any FOD issues we need to be worried about during that time?
They say they have plenty of volunteers.
Okay. Well, I guess that's one good exercise to keep everybody
From
busy.
a military
right?
standpoint, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to have an extensive amount of volunteers posted at all the
At every turn, pretty much. So at River, at Warren, at the turn, at the cross turn, they're having personnel staffed at all those.
and they're actually going to come out before the exercise and kind of canvass the area and just let people know what's going to be happening in the following days, so that nobody gets alarmed. They volunteered to come on airport property too and let all the tenants in that particular area know.
When we first, or early on with the Kentucky 123rd coming in here, we got a statement from them saying something about safety policies and safety equipment being up to date. We should probably look for something like that if it's still available from them.
You want
I
them
don't
to
remember
provide
the name
us?
of the document right offhand, but we could get a hold of 123rd and ask them what they've supplied in the past. It was a form letter sort of thing, but it was signed and dated for a specific event.
Okay, any other discussion? Any comments from the public?
The West Ramp tenants, or shouldn't they be in the loop on this, or what's going on and when?
Yeah, I don't think we've talked to them directly about this one. I mean, they know we have other things going on over there.
So they don't show up there.
When
Full of stuff and nobody knows.
When we've talked with Chris Raskop in the past from Cummins
Yeah.
Corporate Aviation, we let him know to make sure that
I think they should at least be advised.
this was the main thing, is the fact that we're going to have personnel staff so that on taxiway whiskey, so if any aircraft tried to come through there, which that's not Cummins, but if any aircraft try to come through, they're capable of stopping the vehicular traffic through there.
Are we looking for a motion and a vote on this as well?
Yes, we are.
I'll move that we approve the National Guard's use of the west ramp. The date again, March,
2024.
May
May.
28th,
May,
May,
excuse me, May 28th to the 30th.
Second.
31st.
31st, thank you.
Oh, that's 4 days.
And maybe a Thursday through Sunday.
Thursday or Sunday.
Sorry.
Okay, there's a
And a
motion
second.
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Passes. Is there another one?
There's more, but I think that's enough for today. we do have other things that want to go on. Transit rodeo that usually takes place out of Saraland. They're interested in possibly coming out here to the West Ramp. We also have a plane pool that we actually may end up doing that on the South Ramp. Jeff Air and we're working with a senior that's doing a senior project for DSI that wants to do a plane pool, and we're going to be talking about that tomorrow afternoon. That is in March, so that one will be before you at the beginning of March.
Should we not be talking about that today if it's going to occur in March?
We don't know all the details yet.
Okay.
So this senior in high school she's given us some information about what she wants to do. She wants to put together teams, and those teams would fund a donation to DSI. They'll pull the aircraft across so many feet, and it's a timed event. Whoever wins wins.
What about the rodeo?
The transit rodeo. Do you know more about the transit
Yeah,
rodeo?
the Transit Rodeo is proposed for April 18th to be a one-day event, and it's going to kind of comprise of transit, safety, and even state police employees throughout the state who drive kind of larger type vehicles, bus drivers, those types of drivers. And it's an opportunity for them to get together and display their skills in kind of a tournament style. They drive bigger trucks, some buses, do some cones, just a display of skill. Really, there's some prizes for the employees. Like Brian mentioned, they do it every year at Saraland, but they know that there's a little bit better space out here, so they've approached us about having that event out here. But they've still got some loose ends that they need to tie up as well.
So we don't have enough information to make a vote today?
No.
Okay.
Any other events?
No, I don't think so. Aviation Day, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Caleb, presenting instructions to this young man.
I was just going to tell him he was more than welcome to leave if he would like.
Thank you.
I was just
Thank you.
finishing the new business.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Next is tower report.
Ben is not here today, but as you can see in your packet, we have the operations for January, which was a very good month. 2,907 operations in January of 2015. Compare that to last year at 1,502. So very good. You have to
13 years ago to get a better number.
Yeah, there you go.
Just as an aside to that, Wayne said this January has been the best he's ever had in the restaurant. So it should correlate.
Yes. And Jeffrey did very well this in January as well. So good month for everyone.
And kudos to Jeff Air for putting together the promotion on eating in the restaurant. Very nice.
Okay, attorney report.
Just two items that I wanted to mention. We did file the rezoning request on the former Centra property. So there will be a hearing coming up in March that I will get Brian the date and time on.
Is that a plan commission?
Plan commission first, they'll make a recommendation, then it'll go to city council for final approval.
And it's going from what level residential to ag?
I believe it's RS2. It's like a multifamily residential to ag preferred. There are really only two ag zoning options that are used generally, and that was the one that the planning department recommended. It's consistent with the other ag zoning in the area. So that is moving forward. The other thing I just wanted to mention, Brian and I touched base last week, I think, on the FBO agreement. So we've started the process of putting together that kind of a long-term permanent agreement, and we'll be getting that draft for the board to look at and then get that to Jeff Air. So that's all I had.
Discussion or questions? Okay, farm manager report.
you've all got kind of report in your packet, but just kind of review real quick. The melon lease for the irrigated acres of Cameron Farms is executed and all in place. We're wrapping up other things we're doing. Farm Service Agency, we're updating the yields and bases for the new farm program. That's being done. We've got about 2 more doing those. Our water use reports from last year irrigation is turned in, and once it freezes up, we'll top dress our wheat again. So that's where we're at.
And that was Dave's report, and I also, so after the last meeting, we had some discussion about, you know, what did that melon and cantaloupe truly mean to the airport, from a cost standpoint, from a monetary standpoint. So I put together just essentially laid out what the possibilities were if you look at the next sheet in your farm manager kind of area. The bottom line down there was that, so the loss of seed corn income at the current 2014 pricing would have been about $172,000. The best available option at that point, since we had already planted wheat, there was no wheat double crop option, so the next best was regular corn at $124,000. So it would have been a possible loss to BAK, $48,000 with the negotiated cantaloupe lease, and then also the reimbursement for irrigation costs. So we don't, because typically we pay the irrigation costs for all the seed corn, and then also the irrigation repair that we were able to negotiate. The total income was $184,000. So not only did we thwart that possible $48,000 loss, we actually also made money on top of what we were doing already. So again, I just wanted to kind of put it out there. I know it was kind of early whenever we were having that discussion at the last airport board meeting, but so you really can truly understand what it was, that, what happened, and how potentially that could have been a huge loss to the airport. I just wanted you guys to see that.
So if I interpret this in terms of our professional fee to Dave, he's basically more than recouped his professional fee for 2 years.
For 2 years, yes.
Well done, Dave. Outstanding. See, I say you just once again proved the value of a farm manager, or your value as a farm manager.
I lost track of. Dave? Are we planting this new Centra land?
Yes. Yeah, that'll be a dry land lease with Brian and Caleb Arnold. So it'll be incorporated in their dry land leases with what they're doing here with us already. So
great.
Yeah.
Is that, we haven't talked about that. Is there possible irrigation over there?
No.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Is there a need for anyone to monitor the melons and whether they're ripe?
Carlos, all right.
Oh, you're gonna do that?
I check on the tomatoes.
Okay, engineer report.
Okay, scheduling a meeting with Reece Riley, looks like the week of the 16th. So we'll let everybody know how that goes. Basically, we're just gonna get going through the plans, making sure they're ready to go. We got shoving materials moving forward on the ASR testing because that is a long process. It's about 17 days. It's alkali, silicon, the activity test from the concrete mix. So if they pass that, we'll move on.
You're meeting with Reece Riley this month or next month? 16th?
This month.
Okay.
This month.
So next week.
Right. That way we're good to go for some April start. Okay. Did get the CIP submitted on February 2nd to NDOT. They acknowledged the receipt of that. Steve brought up a comment of possibly posting that to the city website.
This is already done.
Okay, thank you. And did talk to NDOT and the FAA about having a meeting. And the reason I say end of March, first of all, it does fit their schedule really well. But the 1st of April is when NDOT and the FAA meet. So we'd like to get in right before they actually sit down and meet. That way, we're basically hitting them twice when they're developing the program. So I don't know everybody's availability, but I wanted to throw that out there. If you'd like, just look at your calendar and get back with me.
Chicago?
That's to be determined right now, Caleb. Obviously, they know that's our preference. I personally think going to Chicago is a better trip, but it may have to end up being in Indianapolis. So
But
we'll
are we meeting with each individually, NDOT and FAA?
They'll both be there.
So at the same meeting?
Correct.
Okay, but not advance to that meeting? I got a little confused when you talked
Okay,
about hitting
so
them twice.
we're going in to meet NDOT and FAA to say, look at what we're doing.
Right.
This is everything the airport's doing that maybe you're not already privy to. This is what we're doing to increase self-sufficiency, so on and so on. And this is what we need. This is how we need to maintain our infrastructure. This is what we're doing to maintain,
Okay.
but this is the support
I'm
we need
with
to be able to move forward with our program. And then after that meeting, NDOT goes to Chicago and they go through all the airports in the state.
Okay, thank you.
So now we're fresh in their mind.
Right.
Okay, so that's why we want to get in there just a week before.
Right.
So if you could look at your calendars and respond back to me a good date.
Is it, you're looking at from say the 23rd on or
Mhm.
of March?
Yes. Do you want me to just give a week, say in 7 days, let me know your schedule, and then I'll coordinate via email? Would that be the easiest
That
thing to
works.
do? Okay, let's do that. Air traffic control tower. You spoke a little bit of the National Guard. I've actually have had some headway now with Umbarger, who now is working with Colonel Townsend in regards to the tower. Let me back up a little bit and tell you why. So, wanted to find out a little bit more about your funding. I understand that the airport has $1 million dedicated funding towards the tower improvements. And I found out, I did get a hold of the point of contact in DC who let me know there has never been a program for that tower. It's not on a list. It's not on any list.
Well, that flies in the face of many things we've been told in the past.
So, I understand. But I'm here to tell you there is no list.
Okay.
I asked the question, they paid for a siting analysis. At some point they had to receive direction that there was a list. Never. It's an airport owned facility. We will not fund that. I've discussed this with the state. There's nothing they can really do at this point, except in addition with the point of contact I have in DC, leverage your support. So, thinking through that, obviously we know who our supporters are, but also I think we need to look more at the military standpoint. So I did reach out to Umbarger, who reached out to Colonel Townsend, who was appointed as the State Director of Operations for the Indiana National Guard in October of last year. We know Umbarger is going to retire. We do not know who's going to replace him at this time. They are interested in it, and especially Colonel Townsend. So I don't know who you two have been talking with, and maybe it's been Colonel Townsend. But he was a commander for 3 years at Atterbury. So he's very familiar with the tower and would like to support us. To what level, I don't know yet. I reached out to him again today before the meeting to see when I would find out. They're hoping this week. That's the best I can tell you. So that's the tower in a nutshell until I learn more, until we figure out what other support legislatively we're going to have to pursue. Go ahead, Dennis. I knew there'd be lots of questions. So
I spent 2 hard days of my life at this sighting exercise.
Right.
And it was just non-communication. It was
By
a
whom?
non-project
By
at the
whom?
time.
By
And
whom?
prior to that,
By
the
whom?
FAA was here to, excuse me,
No,
Steve.
by
The
whom?
FAA was here to meet with us to discuss the whole set of plans.
No, who's non-communicating? I'm lost.
Our previous engineering consultants told me multiple times, we're on a list, we're on a list, we're on a
Oh,
list.
okay, okay.
So let me back
That's what
up
I
a
would
little
throw
bit.
under the bus at this point.
And I'm sorry, Caitlin. I don't want to defend your previous consultant. There used to be an F&E program. We all know that. That's facilities and equipment, right? And that's really who helped maintain that tower. It's now called terminal planning.
As of when?
As I'm not even sure, it was sometime last year.
Okay,
that
within a
took place.
year, not within
Yes.
5 years.
Right.
Okay.
F&E does not exist anymore. I'm talking to the point of contact in DC over terminal terminal planning. If something changed from F&E to terminal planning, I can't answer that right now. My understanding from the terminal planning point of contact, it's an airport-owned facility, you would never be on my list. Because it's airport-owned. They pay for that. We pay for your employees and your equipment. But other than that, nothing. Per them. So, feedback in the past, I can't really comment on at this point, okay? I have expressed that to Melanie Myers, Great Lakes, as well as point of contact terminal planning, to say, why do they even go through siting analysis for $80,000 locally if they were never on a list and never had a chance of funding? So, I have made those comments known, and I've also made them known to others. So, how we want to proceed from here, we have to discuss. And I don't know if you want to have an executive session to discuss it at a later point, because it does affect you as a board, your dedication to this tower and moving forward. So, but I wanted you to be aware of what I have learned.
Nick, somewhere in our history, and I can't pinpoint the year right offhand, 5 years ago probably, we met with 3 F&E guys here, across the street in the boardroom, and spent, I believe it was 2 full days going through the details of what they expected and what we had to do to meet their expectations. And one of those components was the thing that Dennis mentioned, the siting study. And we spent another, what, 2 or 3 days? You were here maybe, you were at that time.
I was at the
You
site,
were, yeah.
2 days, I think.
2 or 3 days of time and effort evaluating what the FAA wanted, and including going to the point of the environmental study.
Yep.
So how did this, and I know you probably can't answer the question, but how could something that extensive have gotten lost in the transfer from an F&E organization to the new?
And you're right, I can't answer that. All I can say is, you would still have to get FAA approval for the siting study, for environmental. All of that work would still have to get done regardless.
Yeah.
If that's why they were there to meet you and they didn't deliver that message well, and they came with more of a message of, hey, we're gonna fund you, that's different. But if they were there to discuss your siting analysis, your environmental, well, they should have been.
We discussed funding for
I believe
most of one of those 2 days,
Right.
a big majority of a day, and how it was going to be achieved, what political powers could support us, what local powers could support us. I find it hard to believe that, and I'm not chewing on you here. You
No, it's
understand?
certainly okay. And that's changes
how,
the
how
FAA
can that
and
disappear?
But you know, they're talking about political support there, and that's basically what I'm getting. Not basically, that is what I'm getting. So I don't think that mission's changed. If you want a new tower, everybody knows from the day one, political support was going to be needed. Go ahead.
We did at least one of the 2 studies. In fact, maybe both of them, both the siting study and the environmental study, to meet their requirements so that they could fund this. And again, it's been a few years, but I think those are the words. You need to do this to this specification. And I knew for certain on the siting study, I don't remember on the environmental one offhand, but we need to do this to this specification so that we can fund whatever portion of this tower.
And that, you know, again, I can't speak to that. I can say sometimes they're really good at how they use the words. You have to complete this before any funding goes into the tower. You know, if it was, you have to complete this before we can fund the tower. And all I can tell you is now that's not in place.
Will this be part of our discussion with FAA?
Oh yeah, it'll certainly be part of the discussion. They're used to
I think
it.
this should be a
every
major
year.
part of our
I just
discussion
think-
with FAA.
They're just gonna say, talk to the F&E guys.
Or
Yeah.
terminal planning.
Yeah, terminal
That's what I'm
planning.
afraid of.
I mean, I've talked to them, so
Yeah.
they're fully aware.
Wow.
Problem is, when talking with the FAA in this issue, it's not hey, Melanie Myers, help us out. On this magnitude, it's gonna be Sandy Lyman, Jim Kiefer, Jim Shaw. that's the people we need to reach out to, because they're gonna have more Washington headquarters support than what Melanie Myers will. Melanie Myers is good on your project by project basis, your pavement related projects. Outside of that, we have to go a little bit above.
Yeah, well, we've typically met with at least her boss and typically 2 levels up.
You've met with Sandy Lyman, I know that.
Pardon me?
You've met with Sandy Lyman.
Yes, yes. A couple levels up, and that's always been beneficial to us as being recognized as a board to go in and do that. I think this ought to be number 1 on our list. That's
Have you been following the thing going on in Fredericksburg, Maryland with the video-based system that the FAA is trying out right now?
I have not.
So it started overseas last year. I think in Sweden, a company has basically built a video-based system to replace control towers at a small airport, and it's in. I don't know what the #1 GA airport in Maryland is. I don't think it's Fredericksburg. It's the biggest GA airport in Maryland. Yeah, I think it's Fredericksburg. This system is in place right now on a 1-year trial by the FAA. It's replaced the control tower completely video. They still have a control tower person. It's just he's not in a tower. He's in a place watching video spread. To see if this is a potential replacement for towers moving forward.
Anywhere on Earth.
Right, could be. My concern is we finally come up with some way of spending $6 million or whatever it is to build this tower, and in 2 years the FAA says we got this great new video system, everybody should be using it. Now we've got this $6 million eyesore because now you can do it all with $1 million. So
yeah,
I think we need to be conscious of that before. I'm guessing they don't build too many towers in the U.S. each year, and I don't want to be the last one that's built before the technology changes. I guess.
And Caleb, you nailed it on the head. I think this is more another discussion later on, but you've heard Next Gen. That's what it's all about. Has Next Gen done anything for 3 years? No. What are they wanting to do as part of Next Gen? Exactly that. That's what it's about. Towers. Again, I don't know if this is the right discussion, but a tower such as this probably won't exist because of Next Gen.
Right. But we got, if we're building a tower, we're building a tower that's going to last for 20, 30, 40 years, right?
Absolutely.
If it's obsolete at 5, we need to be thinking about what the thing that we need to be doing for the 5-year plan is, as opposed to
start looking at next gen technology versus.
I know the FAA is still way behind when it comes to what that is, but I don't want to jump the gun.
You're exactly right. That is the direction that they're going.
So I'm guessing that this new tower wouldn't be free either. So being on the list to spend $5 or $6 million, and then going back to the FAA and say, hey, if we wait a year, we can build this less expensive tower. I'm thinking that'd make them happy.
But I'm still, I'll remind you, and I think Caleb, you and I kind of had differences here in regards to our discussion previously. You're 100% fully funded, right? Currently. So you will lose that with a new tower, because they factor in a portion of that, not all of that. They factor in having a new facility, you don't need that as much funding. So you will lose some of that as well.
Well, we can't keep what we've got forever. So.
I'll move on, unless there's any more questions, I'm sorry. Highway signage. It proved to be kind of difficult a couple weeks ago to look at new airport signs besides just the plain, little square plane you see on the interstate highways. I have been speaking with NDOT because the guidance that the highway department has is very outdated. So after speaking with the Office of Aviation, I have made headway there as well. If I was told if you can give them a few more days, they will have a much more positive answer for you in regards to your interstate and highway signage. So that's your update. That's really all I had at this time, unless there's more questions. Oh, no, here, I'm sorry. Legislative luncheon, and Brian may have filled you in on this already. This is just some of the bills attempting to be passed. Okay, but this page here was really talking points, two-sided. this was really talking points that we were supposed to cover with our legislators. Pay attention to House Bill 1001, House Bill 1267. So House Bill 1001 recommends cutting this Office of Aviation, NDOT's Office of Aviation share in half this year. What does that mean? That happened 2 years ago, if you recall, when then your local match went to 7.5%. And then they got an increase last year, so it went back down to 5. Now they're cutting it in half again. House Bill 1267 is bringing back the state local program. But if the Office of Aviation's budget gets cut in half, that state local program then will go back to that budget so that they can still match 5%. And then whatever's remaining will be state local program, which will be pretty minimal. That's really the key issues there. If you're talking to your legislators, those are good talking points for you to have, Andy. I was interested to find out that some legislators told me they did not see a lot of aviation support this year. So I think, that's my focus in 15 is to make sure I do a better job of reaching out and making sure they understand the benefits and the value of airports in this state. So I wanted to share these with you as well so that you have those. And my big push is just additional funding for the Office of Aviation of NDOT to be able to run the program. We are ranked, I believe, 48, and I've had Kevin Rector, the Director of Office of Aviation, go back through with those numbers again, and he got it up to 46 in the country as far as funding is required. That's pretty sick. So
46 out of 50, so we're pretty poor.
So it's something we're all focusing on right now. Now I promise that's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions for me? Okay,
Nice job, Nick.
Next is FPO comments. It's your turn, if you'd like the chance to.
Well, we had a pretty good first month. It's hard to believe it's been a month, and things have gone well with our organized confusion over there. But we're looking forward to changing. We were able to request a few changes in the design to where we would open up our office area to be more pilot friendly, and we're planning a pilot shop and things like that in that area that we have. And so we're pretty excited about the future. January, we sold over 10,000 gallons of Jet A and almost 3,000 gallons of 100 low lead. And so we're pretty pleased with that. Gave you a nice little flow check. So worked out pretty good. So we're happy with the cooperation we're getting. The promotion that Steve mentioned was a brainchild of my son's. I taught him everything he knows. He came up with giving pilots half off on their meal and for full service fuel, competing with self-service competitors, and so last Saturday we sold almost 400 gallons of 100 low lead as a result of it. And so the way to a pilot's heart is through his stomach, and it worked out pretty good. So we're looking for great things, and things are going well.
Thrilled to have an FBO report.
Thank you.
No report, so we can get it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, financial report.
Okay, I sent out all of these out to you guys earlier, so I have a chance to review them. Our February financial report, basically our net estimated ending cash at the end of the month will be $2,990,178.27.
You disappointed me, Melinda.
I know. Disappointed myself.
Can't win every month.
No, I can't get over 3 every month.
We'll get there. It's early in the year, so.
Yeah, I know, I'm just teasing.
Our profit and loss statement, as you can see, we're still running a profit, so that's a positive note. Then our fuel profit and loss, Brian and I had a discussion on how to show it, because this has minimal information on it, but it's technically gonna be correct for 2015. Even though we got a load in at the end of 14, you're not gonna have true year-to-date figures as we leave in 14's load, so. But it's still a profit as well. And the last would be our 2015 farm profit and loss. The only thing that is not out of this is the prepay on our chemicals. That will be on next month's because it's not been paid as of yet. Any questions on any of them?
When we go to the new accounting system, the city's new accounting system,
Correct.
see that look on your face? Will fuel and ag, is it possible to put those as separate entities or businesses? So that, I'd hate to see these things be extra work for you if you're entering the data anyway into this giant new system.
I'm not real positive. We had some training mid-year last year, and then the implementation, it's going to be implemented later in the year. It's not even gonna come on now until
Oh,
June is what I'm
it's still
now.
moving back,
So,
okay.
there will be more training forthcoming.
Right. What's the name of that system?
Munis?
What is it you're trying to break out, Dennis?
Oh, well, I can tell she's concerned about whether the fuel business is gonna.
Are you talking the self-serve or?
Self-serve, yeah. Whether it's done right, and I'm just thinking Munis.
I think he's asking,
may
with
have
this
a-
new software, is it easier for her to generate all this without having to manually create 4 different reports each time?
Oh, okay, I'm with you.
That's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
Gotcha.
On the self-serve, we had a minor issue in that I guess we apparently didn't get our money appropriated right. So there may be something going through the city council and just making sure that we have the funds in there so that we can continue to purchase fuel and have that non-reverting account that we had thought we'd set up last year. So just if you see anything like that, that's what that's all about.
Thanks.
Thank you. Assistant Manager's Report.
Okay. Just one more snow removal effort so far this year. We're up to 2. Leave it at that. Not trying to tempt the gods. Last week, we the airport got its annual NDOT airport inspection. Everything went very well.
What all's involved in that, Carlos?
Not a whole lot. I was pretty surprised. I'm used to FAA 139 inspections. That's all I've ever had. They're multi-day events for me, and like I have the inspector's favorite treats ready, and it's all. This guy just shows up, really nice guy. We just go for a spin around the airfield. He makes sure that our pavement looks good, our markings look good. Takes a look at the lighting. Takes a look at some of the nav aids, like our windsocks. Comes in the main terminal, looks for some basic items, some signage in the terminal, in case no one happens to be there and our pilot may come in. They look for a 24-hour phone and some, basically some airport rules and regs that are available. But because of terminal renovations, we don't have that sign there. That was really the only situation where we didn't check the box. And he understood completely why. I think we were together no more than 2 hours. It went very well for us.
Of course, not showering for a week probably helped.
Brian kind of gave me a heads up that it might be happening at that time of the week. So from the week prior, I was ready. So
Do they give us much notice? And is this set up in advance?
I think, Brian, you got the heads up first, and I think maybe 2 weeks notice.
They tell us the month they're coming, but they like to surprise you.
Oh, okay.
And they do, because
Yeah.
we were supposed to go into a meeting, so I had to split.
Yeah.
And on the airfield side, also this past month, maintenance has been patching some blow ups on 1432. So again, we're really looking forward to the construction project for the resurfacing on that runway. But this winter's kind of had a lot of ups and downs for temps. And I think that's kind of exacerbated the problem this winter. On the facility side, as far as taking care of our maintenance department, taking care of buildings and airport facilities, the crews have really been busy supporting the terminal remodel project, from making some ADA ramps so that people could access the terminal building. The guys did that totally in-house, and that saved us a lot of money. And as we've uncovered certain parts of the basement or upstairs in the terminal, we just kind of found some housekeeping items that have been neglected for years that nobody could have noticed. So when we had the opportunity, we've been improving the insulation and the ceiling of the basement. And you could see some drafts coming in where it was just kind of a flaw of the original construction. So the guys have been working on sealing the terminal building up, trying to make it more energy efficient. And we've been cleaning up and kind of repairing some ductwork insulation as all of the ceiling was tore out. So the guys have been really busy this month supporting the terminal remodel project. And along with that, since the airport in January took over maintenance responsibilities for the T hangars, we're kind of finding that there's been some deferred maintenance.
No.
I'm shocked.
So we're starting, and I think the word is getting out to some of the tenants that there's a responsive owner now. So it seems like some people are kind of coming out of the woodwork with some deferred issues, and those are starting to pile up on the guys now. So I think we're going to be busy with T hangers this year. And then just another note, Airport 2 is a newer vehicle that we procured a couple months ago, and we're saving some money with that too, outfitting the airfield radio and the light bar. We're doing that in-house as opposed to having that done outside. We got one of our part-time maintenance technicians is really experienced in electronic installs, and so that's one of the ways we've been able to cut costs as well. That's all I have in my report. Anybody have any questions for me?
Nice job.
Thank you. Okay, airport director report.
Well, we have, if nobody's been in the terminal building lately, it's kind of a mess. So, been a lot of work, a lot of small change orders coming through, as you see, and we've referenced it's probably about $8,000 worth of change orders at this point. Lighting fixtures that just didn't work with what we had designed. Color changes on some doors coming into and out of the main terminal building. Wall covering differences. We ended up finding we needed a little bit more flooring right in front of the restaurant area. So just minor things that keep popping up. We're working very well with Maxwell. Had an issue today. If anybody was in there today, we had an issue that limited the amount of people that we could have in the restaurant for today and for tomorrow. So we're hoping that everything's back up and we've got all our proper access points by Wednesday evening, so Thursday for the restaurant. Otherwise, on schedule at this point, everything's going very well. I'd be happy to take anybody on a tour of it.
That's peanuts on change orders for a job of this size.
Yeah, for now, I've built 2 terminal buildings in the past and had like a total of 3 change orders in both buildings. So this is really freaking me out at this point. So we're continuing to work with Jeff Air on their lease and some possible modifications for that, as Mike was talking about. So possibly look for something at your March meeting on that. Looking forward to that. Working to attract our aircraft maintenance company or an aircraft maintenance company here to the property. Still having some of those discussions. We'll continue to do that. Submitted the minor subdivision plat for retail development. As you're aware, we put out that RFP for retail. To say it's not going as well as I'd hoped. So we don't have the developers knocking our door down to get in at this point. we'll continue to work on that. The deadline is not passed, but the developers that I've sent it to, I've not gotten any response back from them on their interest levels. So,
Are we open to a fast food restaurant in there?
yeah, it's zoned for such. I'm not necessarily ever say fast food, but
Yeah, I'd sure invest in one.
I think if somebody built a Chick-fil-A right there, they would sweep the city.
You know, one of the interesting things I've learned from some of the realtors around town is they're having trouble attracting particularly chain restaurants because of the labor issues here, of not having enough labor. And that has really been a hindrance, which I wouldn't have thought about that. But if you go in some of the other restaurants, you see they're usually running short-handed at any point of the day or night. And that was quite surprising to me.
My understanding is there is a Facebook page called Bring Chick-fil-A to Columbus.
Yeah.
So we should
like that page, absolutely.
Yeah, to add to what
All
Steve
right.
said, we've had 2 restaurants that delayed opening because they couldn't get people in the last couple of years.
Item 6 there, we completed the first draft of the annual report and the first draft of our 2015 goals and submitted those. I think we have some minor tweaks on that, so I should be able to submit that to you at your March meeting. Still looking for any additional comments on that rules and regulations documents. So if you want to get those to me, then we'd be happy to make those changes and move forward with that. And then Aviation Day update, as we talked about, is June 13th. We've locked in the Ford Tri-Motor at this point. We have Indiana CAF that's going to be bringing down 3 aircraft giving rides and 1 that's going to be static. We've talked to Missouri CAF on a couple of other big name aircraft that would also probably give rides as well. Much more high-end rides than the Ford Tri-Motor.
We mentioned them earlier. The Kentucky 123rd uses us a lot. Would they be interested in bringing a couple?
We have had that thought multiple times, and it's difficult to get them here outside of a training mission. So we'll work with them. But yeah, I forget
the training officer's name. We can share that with you later.
Please.
B-17?
No B-17. Possible B-25. But we do have the Ford Tri-Motor already locked. Aviation Day Committee is next Wednesday, the 18th at 4 o'clock. Location yet to be determined, maybe. We're not sure. We got a little cramped in my office, so we might end up moving over to the hangar building in town. So everything is going just kind of well right now. We did have an intern who's not in the room at this point, but a event coordinator intern that we've hired to assist us with Aviation Day and planning this. Moving forward, she's an IUPUC student in marketing and communication, so very sharp. Her name's Leslie. We hope to get the sponsorship packets out by the end of this week. So I will send those to the board members and please distribute it to everyone you have ever met. Because we're going to need a lot of money to continue to host this event to the size and scale that I think everybody wants to. And I'll send it to everybody out here. That's all.
Thank you. Any questions for Brian?
Just to add to Brian's last comment, I'll get the names of the 2 or 3 folks that we're talking to on the EAA side of that, so we don't conflict with them, so you know who we're talking to.
Yeah, we need to get together.
I don't
on
think
that.
there's any conflict on them at all.
From a sponsorship standpoint,
Yeah, I'll fill you in on those names.
Yeah, we definitely want to note that because when it comes to the EAA Ford Tri-Motor, we just have to say how much sponsorship we bring in for that Ford Tri-Motor, and so we can anything that we do from rooms to vehicles and things come off of that dollar amount that they need to operate. So yeah, if you get anything on your end, we can make sure we coordinate that.
Any questions or comments? Any questions or comments from the public? Yes, sir.
Are you guys tracking and publishing your self-serve sales, or do you have a off the top of your head number?
Yeah,
I got it off the top of my head. For the year, 36 since January, 36 transactions, about 500 gallons sold. Net revenue $22.64. So averaging 1 a day, even in January. I'm not too bad with that.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeff Arrow, they're doing so well.
Now you're complaining.
No, you guys are doing a great job. I mean, we as the airport can't say enough, about Jeff Fair and what they've done so far for the airport. Really, the last couple of weekends have been just terrific. I mean, so many aircraft on the ramp, and those guys have really been doing a great job. So, kudos to them.
Does that answer your question? Yeah. You're more. I can give you a copy of this if you want to take.
And if you want 14s.
Yeah, she's got 14 as well. Any other questions or comments? Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
I won't take a vote. We're adjourned.